Live from the Transitional Radio Uplink in Cuenca, Ecuador, you're listening to All Natural Being with guest host Henry G. Noel. What's the G stand for? Giddy up on IPMNation.com. Here's Henry.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this, the 353rd episode of Brian Brody's All Natural Being, the number one rated show on IPMNation.com and brought to you by Transitional Radio. We are live this evening on IPMNation.com, Transitional Radio's Facebook and YouTube pages, with Fly on the Wall video or Brian's Shunt Cam, however you really wish to look at it, although that may not be for very long, on Facebook and YouTube with rebroadcasts on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and a whole host of others. Now, we are broadcasting live this evening from our international uplink studio in Cuenca, Ecuador. And we want to thank our good friends at Wirecast for making it possible for us to be broadcasting live and globally. Now, we also thank you, our trusted listeners, for without you, there would be really very little for me to be doing this evening. So we want to thank those listening on live radio, those listening to our rebroadcasts, and we also want to thank our Fly on the Wall video listeners. We do find it far more enjoyable having you participating in the thread and sharing your ideas. So to all our listeners from all over the globe, from places like the United States, Ecuador, Ireland and the UK, Colombia, Canada, Australia, Germany, Cambodia, Bulgaria, New Zealand, the Philippines, Argentina, Bangladesh, Brazil, Algeria, France, Pakistan, Palestine, the Dominican Republic, Ethiopia, Indonesia, India, Japan, South Korea, Laos, Malaysia, Peru, Romania, Senegal, Nepal, Turkey, Belgium, Mexico, China, Singapore, Thailand, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Egypt, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands, Greece, and Poland. Thank you for investing your valuable time with us. Now, we are quite aware there are many other options out there where you could be spending your valuable time. So thank you so much for choosing to spend it with us. It is wonderful to have you here. Now, my name is Henry Noel, guest hosting for our good friend, the shunt flow reducing Brian Brody. And I am thrilled to be filling in for our virtual hitchhiker. So from 2 degrees south of the equator, where the girth of the earth exceeds the chubby scale, we want you to understand, regardless of where you are on this globe, your life is still your jungle. And you, in spite of what you think and believe, you get to carve out your own path and hack out the underbrush, suppressing your passion to live life the way you want. Why cow down to the sport of others? You were dealt this hand, so why not play it with all the passion you can find and play it the way you always dreamt you'd play it, if only you were given a chance? Well, this is your chance. No one is more qualified to control your life than you. So why cave in to the pundits who presume they are in control of you? Why allow the opinions of others to derail you from your all-natural being? Don't get caught up in all of the foolishness that others use to demoralize you. Use your primal scream to stand tall and proud, front and center, and do not place yourself in second place. You're better than that, and we're here to ensure you have your rock star moment as your friendly force, placing your heart's highest priority, top of the list, reinstating the true wisdom and wallop of your inner whisper, pushing you to terminate the turmoil in your life and limit the liability of your luggage and streamline your sensibility so you can face this insane world head on and out brutal the brutal. All this so you can bring on your own bold once and for all. So get prepared for audio acupuncture, where we treat all the points of your chronic philosophical pain, providing auricular therapy to reduce your anxiety, medical qigong for your mind, body, and spirit, and Reiki for your rationality, all to provide a natural healing approach to the medical mayhem we call life. Welcome to healing in the nth degree. Are you ready? Are you comfortable? Well, I hope so. Kick off your shoes, kick back, and let's get started. Now, we trust that everyone has had a good day thus far, and I want to thank you for joining me on this Tuesday evening. Tonight, we continue our assessment of our past 2 years of change and self-renewal as we present part 6 of this series entitled Belief Systems. We all have belief systems, and believe it or not, our lives have all been affected by them. So for all of our radio listeners, email your questions to henry@henrygnoel.com, and I will be happy to answer them. If you're listening to rebroadcasts and want to voice your opinions, please email me, and I will reply. I am trying to create an avenue for everyone to be actively involved in this show so you can all discover your all-natural being. So let's get this show on the road, huh? Let's get it underway. Let's get into the thread. Let's say hi to our fly on the wall listeners and see who has actually happened to join us this evening. So let's get into the thread. All right. Let's see who we have active for tonight. This is great. Thank you. Janelle, good evening. I'm glad to have you here. Marie, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. Rita, thank you. Wayne, always thank Wayne. He's, otherwise I'm off the air. So no, thank you, bro. I really appreciate all the efforts. Marcia, welcome to the show. I'm glad that you're here too. Let's see, who else? Mary, yep, there's Mary. Thank you, Mary. I'm glad that you're here. Patricia, how are you? Good evening. It's great to see that you're on the thread tonight. Thank you. And let's see, that's what we have right at the moment. So we'll go ahead and start talking a little bit. I have a few housekeeping things to take care of tonight. So we'll get into that right away. Just an update. We have Brian has been having his shunt gradually reduced. Once a week, he goes in for a readjustment to reduce the amount of cerebral spinal fluid that's being removed from his skull. And so he is having some challenges with the pressures. I mean, he's always talked about the pressures and how the barometric pressure can affect him. And so what he's doing by shutting it down is the brain got so used to having a quart and a half low, as he puts it, and having that reduced amount of pressure. Now, as it's filling back up again, the brain has to it takes a while. It takes about a month to get used to the pressure changes. So he is coming along fine. He's dealing with it. He's, you know, Brian, the tenacious one. He is not going to go ahead and cow down to any of this stuff. So no way is he a defeatist. So we'll see what goes on. And Marcia, thank you. Ready for the great positive needles. Thank you. John, welcome this evening. It's good to have you here too. So anyway, Brian's hanging in there. He's doing fine, and it's great to hear from him off and on. So thank you, Brian. I'm glad you're getting better. And I know all of the good wishes go from all of you to Brian. So thank you very much. Second bit of housekeeping. I will not be on air tomorrow. I have a meeting I have to go to, so I will be doing that. Instead, it's about a 5-hour meeting in the evening, so I will not be broadcasting tomorrow, but we will be back on Thursday with Free for All Thursday, so that you guys get to, having listened to me on Sunday, Monday, and tonight with some heavy stuff. I get to listen to you guys. You guys can vent. You can tell me how crazy I am, and tell me what I'm doing, what I did good and what I did poor, and what needs to be readjusted, and that you just simply don't believe me. That's fine. That's, whatever it takes. So, thick skin, thin head. but thick skin. So just don't hit me with a hammer and I'll be just fine. So it's not a problem. As far as everything else is going, everything else is going to according to Hoyle. So tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow night I will not be on air, but on Thursday we'll be back for a free for all Thursday, and then we'll be back again. That'll be the last show for the week, and then we'll kick it right back in on Sunday evening. So that's where we are at this point. And I think that's all my housekeeping duties. I don't know, Rita, is that all done with my housekeeping duties, or do I still have the dishes to do? I'm not sure. I got to double check and see. So we'll see how things go. Anyway, tonight's topic we're going to get into is, oh, Mary, thank you very much. You just prayed for him as well this morning. Thank you. I believe me, all the prayers out to Brian. Thank you, Patricia. Absolutely. We want him back. I want him back. He's got big shoes to fill. Let me tell you, I'm drowning in these shoes. So yeah, thank you. I'd love to have him back as quickly as possible. So thank you all. I really appreciate that. So again, tonight we are going to be discussing a rather very light subject called belief systems. Wow. And I'm telling you, it is very, very, very heavy. This is a really tough subject to get into because of how convoluted it is. But we will get into the very beginnings of it anyway, because I would, there's no way I can really cover belief systems in one night. So this will cover several days. And Candace, welcome. I'm glad to see you join the thread. Looking forward to your comments as always, and everyone else. Thank you very much. So let's see. We'll go ahead and get into this, and we'll make stops here and there, and identify and talk to you folks here and in the thread. And again, I'm sure that you are passing on all of your good wishes to Brian, because I know he gets into this and he listens to them all and he reads them all. So thank you again. All right. So tonight we are going to continue with our assessment of the past 2 years of listening to this show and are seeking to change, self-reflect, and self-renew. Now, in part one, we discussed honesty and the importance honesty plays in our desire to change and self-reflect and self-renew. But in part two, we looked at fear and the devastating effects fear plays on our lives, past, present, and future. And we also presented ways we can reduce the amount of fears dictating our lives. In part three, we discussed hate and how hate develops from where hate develops, and what we can do to stop hate. We also discussed social categorization and its role in creating hate. In part four, we discussed labels and how we are not the labels that we identify ourselves with, the negative impact that labels have on us, and society's guilt in using labels to profile and categorize everyone. And again, the social categorization that comes from the labels. In part five, we barely touched on guilt. We identified where guilt comes from, and we talked about reasons why we harbor guilt. We touched on some effects that guilt has on our health and our lives, and we barely got into some of the ways we can reduce our guilt. Now, we also demonstrated how each of these topics affect each other and how they are so intertwined in their weaving the tapestry of our lives. Now, tonight, we add to our convoluted tapestry of life by injecting belief systems into the mix. But because of the expansive way belief systems affect us and our perceptions, tonight, as I said, I am only going to begin the introduction of belief systems. Now, belief systems will be covered over the course of several evenings because of the seriousness and the gravity with which belief systems affect us in our lives. So with that said, let's get into this very controversial topic and see what rabbit holes we can delve into and still come out somewhat unscathed. Changed, perhaps, but relatively unscathed. Ready? So let's get into this. All right, belief systems. Number one, they are as numerous as there are ideas. Just about anything people justify as reality becomes belief systems. Belief systems cover the gamut from religion, politics, sex, life, the universe, alien life and UFOs, health, food, the New World Order, false flags, FEMA camps, and every bloody thing in between, climate to everything. And we all have belief systems with them. Now, name a subject. There is a belief system attached to it in order to guide you, to instruct you, and to lead you where you want to go. So what are belief systems, and where do they come from? And why do they affect us so much? Well, Jamie, welcome. It's good to have you on here. Thank you. So at the root level, belief systems are nothing but the stories that we are told. Now, before written language, storytelling was the method by which we passed knowledge from generation to generation. We told stories to teach history, to prepare the youth for adulthood, to give credibility to the tribe for our existence, to lay down a direction for the future. Stories were the means with which we justified our existence, thereby solidifying our place in this reality. Our place in this reality becomes our society, and the stories affirm our society became our belief systems. You see, this is where it all started. Because this is what we have to do. It's belief systems are the things that we believe in. Think back to the Middle Ages and the earth, the sun rotated around the earth. These are belief systems. Belief systems come and belief systems go. It just depends on the belief systems and the validity with the belief systems. So we all know that the human being is a social animal. Now, this is a common fact. Now, moreover, the human being is defined as a rational being, although by times you'll find it pretty hard to believe that. It is clear because human beings, they create things using logic, mathematics, philosophy, science, and jurisprudence, which is why we are considered rational beings. These are all the products of rationality or abstract thought. Now, nevertheless, human sociability goes further than the sociability of animal herds. Societies are founded, they cohere, they develop, degenerate, and die based on their belief systems. Now, reason cannot prove the belief system is true because the belief systems are not based on fact, only stories. It is the believability in these stories that belief systems become real. The better the storyteller, the better the story, the more believable the story becomes, and it is this believability that we create our belief systems upon. So belief systems arise through experience. Experience needs previous belief systems and reasons to be assimilated. Reason needs experience to be formed, as belief systems need reason as well. So beliefs, reason, and experience are based upon each other and require one another to make sense. I look at this as trying to define a word by using the very word in a definition. It is extremely tough. So to have a belief relies on an experience, and having the experience relies on reason, and reason requires beliefs and experience to make sense of it all. Very confusing. It really is very confusing. And that's why I liken it to defining a word by using the very word you're trying to define in the definition. Again, it makes it senseless. It really is senseless. And it doesn't help you with the definition. So Candace says, I believe and love God. He is my guidance. There you go, Kate. Yep, I'm not going to argue there. I don't like the lightning strikes. Dallas, welcome. It's great to see you. Welcome aboard. It's good to have you here. Thank you. So, context. Wow, this gets kind of confusing. But context is dynamic and formed upon beliefs, reason, and experience. Now, this is where relative understanding actually lies, as relative understanding is independent of our context. It is also dependent on our beliefs, reasoning, and experiences. Contexts are dynamic because they are changing constantly. And as we have new experiences and change our beliefs and our ways of reasoning, we develop the belief systems. So the use of the term belief system itself is very confusing. Psychologists, political scientists, and anthropologists use the term belief systems in all different manners. They don't even agree on the terms of belief systems and what they mean, which again makes belief systems so hard, and yet we base our whole life on them. It's very interesting. There is some network of interrelated concepts and propositions at varying levels of generality. And there are some processes by which a human accesses and manipulates the knowledge under current activating circumstances and or in the service of particular current purposes. So we take what we experience, we take what we reason, and we build a belief into that, it gets interwoven into that. But we manipulate all of this based on the circumstances and our perceptions of them. So belief systems are structures of norms that are interrelated and that vary mainly in the degrees in which they are systemic. What is systemic in belief systems is the interrelationship between several beliefs. And we all have many, many beliefs. It's not just a belief in your religion or a belief in your political party or a belief in healthy foods. We have multitudes of belief systems, and that all interrelated, and it becomes a system all by itself. Okay? So back to Patricia, doesn't beliefs govern a person's attitude, such as religion? Yes, absolutely they do. As well as belief systems in sex, as belief systems in just about every fabric of our lives. Belief system, the big belief systems that we always harp on are the religion and the religion ideology, but also in politics. Those are the two big ones, religion and politics. But belief systems are throughout our lives. They are in everything that we do. You know, the belief in the sun's going to come up and the sun and the moon is going to rise, and belief systems in that the weather's going to continually change, belief systems in global warming or global cooling, however you want to, it depends on where you live in the world. And beliefs in that the plates on the earth move, but tectonically. So yeah, we have a multitude of belief systems, and it's very difficult to try to corral all of these things without them being so interwoven and systemic in their nature. Foods, healthy foods. What I believe is a healthy food for one person, for me, may not be what someone else believes is a healthy food for them. It's a belief system. So it really goes deep, and that's why I'm going to get the beginning of this, because it is so confusing. So what features warrant calling this stored body of concepts a belief system? Okay, belief systems are the stories we tell ourselves and others to define our personal sense of reality. Every human being has a belief system that they utilize, and it is through this mechanism that we individually make sense of the world around us. Perceived reality is constructed by means of systems of signs being affected and being changed by the means of belief systems. So as a belief system becomes archaic or doesn't seem to fit the norm anymore, we change the belief system. So like they did in the Middle Ages, they decided the sun doesn't go around the earth goes around the sun. Heresy at the time, of course. I'm sure Galileo had to apologize for all of that, but that is what they discovered. So it is extremely important to understand that because belief systems come and go, there's very little to hold credence in them, because they seem to be temporary, because they're based not on fact. They're based on stories, what people believed. Alice, welcome. It's great to have you. Good to see you. We're talking about belief systems, and I'm only going to touch into the very beginning of it because it is such a very tough subject to cover in just one night. So we're going to do this over several evenings to really get into this. So, a subject cannot understand a sign without talking about this a system that has learned socially and that allows them to make sense of the perception. See, perceptions again are part of belief systems. It's our perceptions, and this is what makes it so tough. So, in the same way, the classification of signs in closed topologies can be deceptive, since the status of the sign depends strongly on the form in which the sign is used within the belief system. So Patricia says, my beliefs come from peers, parents, teachers, and friends, but I have to pick and choose what fits me. And that is exactly what we all do. And that is really the fact. It is really tough because and a lot of times we have to take what we've learned from our peers, our parents, our teachers, and our friends and toss them out the door because it doesn't fit what we see or what we think. So it is tough. It is really tough. Jamie, I should have smoked a joint first. Well, I told you it's going to be a heavy subject, and it's going to get heavy from here on in. It really is. This is tough when we're dealing with life and the way we see life, and we tend to look at life simplistically, but who we are is composed of so many things that we don't even realize that it isn't who we are. We're not who we think we are. And it is the discovering. And that's what change is all about. That's what self-renewal and self-improvement is all about. That's what what this whole show is about, was to thicken people's skins, take on your own bold. That's what all of these things we cover in the beginning when we come into this show. This is why we state all of these things, so that people do understand that, wow, I thought I understood who I was, and I really don't. And I really need to understand. I need to learn to understand it. So that is what the whole purpose of this is. So anyway, a signifier can nevertheless be iconic in a belief context and be symbolic in another context. And so what this is trying to say is that beliefs change and are used in whatever context seems to fit our purpose at the time. And so it continues, or it even fuels the fact that the belief systems are just based on fabrications, or based on the wrong information, or based on just on thin air half the time, just on stories. So it is really difficult to really understand where all of this really leads to, except that the reason we need to really pay attention to this stuff is the fact that we live our life based on our belief systems. And if our belief systems can actually be shown to be erred, then we are living an erred life. So the question then goes to you is, do you want to understand and know the truth and live the life that you should be living or could be living? Or do you continue to go down the path that you're going down, live the misconception or the outright lie, and be content and go on your merry way? That's an individual choice. It's an individual want or desire. And that's why we lay this data out for you. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. What matters is that you choose. And you can choose the rabbit hole, which I love being in the rabbit hole because it makes much more sense to understand what's going on in this world than it is to just simply take religious, political, or other belief systems as, well, to coin religion, as gospel, because there are errors in all of these, complete errors. And that is what I'm trying to expose for everybody, is that understand that what we've counted on our lives is errored. It doesn't fit the story anymore, or the story doesn't fit the times. So when we look at, let's look at specifically, and we'll get really into this in another evening. Religion. You have Catholicism that follows the Bible. You have the Judaism that follows the Torah. You have Islam that follows the Quran. 3 books. The Quran by Muhammad. You have the Torah that was given through the Old Testament and given through people's books and stories that have been told to different prophets. You have the New Testament in the Bible for the Catholics, and it is stories told by people, and these are words of God through prophets. We'll say it that way. Okay, these are all words of God through prophets. So if they're the words of God, why don't all 3 books say the same thing? I mean, did God have to edit something? Did he change his mind or have an epiphany? Or was there several gods talking to the prophets to give them different stories? To me, if it came from God through prophets, it should be all the same, unless the prophets made mistakes. I mean, again, I'm just trying to be logical with this because that's what humans are. We are trying to be logical and in our rational in our thinking. But doesn't it make sense that the 3 biggest religions have 3 different books that preach 3 different things, and they all came from the same person? Sorry, I have to question that. So anyway, this is what I really want to go through. This is how I'm going to attempt to try to break down the belief systems and make a better understanding of what goes into it. Not just religion, but politics, and like I said in the very beginning, we have belief systems that deal with all the aspects of our lives, and that is what is so difficult, to place your finger on a pulse of just one thing. Whether it is the idea of the universe, or whether it's alien or UFOs, whether it's health or food, or false flags, FEMA, or anything else that we deal with. We all have belief systems. Some of these belief systems we love to refer to as conspiracy theories, but they are belief systems. People believe that. And they have every right to believe whatever they wish to believe. But this is what it all is. And then the conflict happens is when we try to put one belief system over another, or we try to impose our belief system on somebody else. And we experience that every day in the world. And you see it, the politics trying to impose one view over another, or the religion trying to impose one view over another, the government trying to impose one view over all of the other countries. This is what we do. So to jump back into the thread, because I've kind of slipped a little bit, Maria, if someone else's belief system encroaches on me, there you go. See, I just talked about that. Candace says, because man changed it, not God. There you go. That's it. The Torah is part of the Bible, so it does match. It matches, except in the Old Testament, you're dealing with a fire and brimstone God of judgment and penalty and literally smite. I mean, if didn't like what was going on, he just smote it. Well, then the New Testament, we have the same God, but he picked up the love costume. So yeah, you have the Torah as part of that's the Old Testament in the Bible, but read it. It's a totally different God when you really look at it. It's, all of a sudden we have a God of love. I have to question that. Where did the change come? Why would the change come if God was perfect? Doesn't make mistakes. Why would he change? It doesn't make sense. Mary says, I don't believe that they were all supposed to be written by the same God. Well, and there's part of it. Is it the same God, or is it different gods? And if it's different gods, then who are they? I mean, nobody asks. We just blindly follow whatever the pulpit person is talking about, and we just don't have opinions about it. I think we need to have opinions. I think we need to question some of this stuff. Mary says atheism is also a belief system. Yes, it is. Oh, there are hundreds and hundreds of belief systems just within religion alone. It is just amazing when you really look it up. Jamie says, so it's so scary to think that there isn't a higher power. Well, we don't know. We assume that there's a spirit, that there is a creator of some sort. Some people don't, and I'm not going to argue with the fact that whether there is or isn't. That's not the point of it. It's the belief systems within it. So, says, a belief system such as politics and religion, man has revised the Bible to fix each. Yes, they have. If you are really research the Bible, there are books and chapters that they left out. The book of the book of James. There you go. Absolutely true. And of course, all the books of the Gnostics and all of them were left out. The book of Thomas, the book of Mary Magdalene. Hell, I mean, you got a Christian religion based on Jesus. And the book of Jesus isn't part of the Bible. Figure that one out. Again, these are the things that we have to look at. Patricia says there's only one God. Okay. Yep. And Mary says, I agree with you that we should not try to impose our views on another. Okay. And the Bible does not teach to force anyone to become Christian or impose our views on them. The Quran does teach jihad to force it on other people. And that is very fact. And that's why I question. So if that is a holy Bible, if that is a holy book, then why is it so different? So if it came from God, what God did it come from? Let's see, again, this short story, I can share a story from the Native American friend. This is from Candace, and he said that this world is exactly as it's supposed to be, but the afterlife is eternal. A very spiritual man. Thank you very much. Mary Hagley, amen. There are false gods, pagan gods, and people make themselves a wannabe God. There we go. I love it. But yes, so this is really what we're going to be dealing with. And I'm not going to delve further into the belief systems tonight because, like I said, this is hours and hours of research and hours of discussion that's really going to have to be covered. And again, I don't want to focus and belabor religion and religion because that when you talk about belief systems, that's the first thing people think about is religion. But I want to delve into a lot of the other belief systems that we have and the reasons we have them, because that is really what will get you to start to question the other belief systems. And that's really what's going to be tied into it. So for benefit of everybody and the time, that is what that's where I'm going to hold off on the belief systems right now. And we'll continue this where I left off on Sunday evening. But anyway, I want to go ahead and continue with some of the discussion that's going on. And I think that's it. So off of religion, and again, we're dealing with Native American, we're dealing with belief systems, religious belief systems, not necessarily what we are familiar with. It's not Catholic, it's not Judeo, it's not Islam. It is pagan. It is natural. It is depending on whatever you want to look at and how you want to define it. But this is what it's all about. So it is it is really tough to nail down. This is a topic, which is why I want to take several days to do it. So anyway, so Mary says, yes, I agree. We should always question and seek what is really truth. Absolutely. And Patricia says, can we discuss political? Yes, please. Yes, we can. Political belief systems. We can do that for a little bit. I think we still have about 5 minutes. Political beliefs. You right now you all are facing, a Congress that is on total opposite sides of the coin. And it is really difficult. They following two different belief systems. They have their own, they've manipulated and twisted, and both sides have done this, into their own way of preaching. This is their gospel. This is what they try to do. And we are in a rather precarious position at this time because of the inability to even talk to one another because of the difference in their belief systems. And so many people are caught in the middle because they believe some of what one party says, some of what another party says. But yet their representatives can't seem to come to terms with it. They can't seem to really deal with it. And you've got an election day coming up, which is very interesting. And so you have to all contend with all of this and try to sift through their belief systems in order to come up with what truth you can in order to make your judgment. So I don't have a lot of envy there because it really is a lot of work that has to be done. Candace says, honestly, God has answered so many prayers and helped me so much. I pray all the time and always thank him and Jesus as my savior. Very good, Candace. I'm perfect. I think that is wonderful. We should be, Jamie says, we should be able to vote on issues, not political parties. I assume that's the political parties. Yeah. Well, and I think the major issue, because people, when they are elected to even just a local political position, a city council, a county, the state, they're already indoctrinated at that point. They've been elected. This is the job that they want to do. There was a question that was asked to me by a magazine down here in Cuenca. And the question was, if you were president of the United States, what would you do? What would be the first thing you did? And my first reply was, I disband the government, because if we really need someone to tell us what's right and wrong, we need to have someone tell us what we can and can't do. We're in worse shape than we really think we are. But on top of that, I said I'd take Congress and I would strip away all of the, not that I have the authority to do that as president, but I think the salaries would go. I think it should become it should be just like it was when it first started, back where you worked in your constituency, at your home, in your business, in your job. And then you went for a couple of 3 weeks to deal with federal business. And then you went back home. You dealt and you lived with the people in your constituency. Today, they don't know who's in their constituency, and they could care less because they have retirement, health care for the rest of their lives. And so why? And plus the hefty salaries. When you go in at a $150,000, $200,000 salary and you come out a multimillionaire, there's something wrong after 6 years. So we have to look at this stuff and really realize where it is. And when you realize that someone finally, someone new gets elected, they're in for 6 months trying to learn the system, and the rest of the time they're vying for re-election. So where are the issues really being taken care of? And they're not. And it's you all that pay the price. Citizens of the country pay the price. And it's not just the U.S. This is everywhere. This is the way it is everywhere. And that's the big issue that we have. Oh, we're coming up on my final minute. I guess I'm getting a signal from my brother. So anyway, I want to thank you all again for entertaining this, putting up with this. Is a tough subject. Like I said, this steps on a lot of toes, and it's going to step on toes. And that's why I said we'll either go down that rabbit hole together and come out unscathed, hopefully mostly unscathed. We might be a little banged up and bruised and a little few egos hurt, but hopefully unscathed. So what I will do is I'm going to close this for this evening. Again, I will be not. Wow, that's a real good one. I will not be on tomorrow night. I do have a meeting in the evening, and I will be back on Thursday evening for Free for All Thursday. So with everything that we've talked about so far, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, you've got enough ammunition to just destroy to me. You sure do. So I'm looking forward to your questions and your activity on the thread on Thursday, because it's your turn. Gets to be your turn. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great evening. Okay. Thank you very much.